Narcissists and sociopaths are two personality types that are already hard enough to deal with on their own. But when they combine, what you get is something that is profoundly damaging. This is the person who hurts you and enjoys it, not because they lost control, but because watching you unravel gives them a sense of superiority. This is the narcissist who plans your downfall here, not impulsively, but strategically. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Deanna King here for those who don't know me, and this channel is all talk narcissism and codependency. Today I want to talk to you about a term that not everyone has heard about. You're already familiar with narcissism. If you've lived through the emotional minefield of narcissistic abuse, you probably think that you've seen it all. But every so often you come across someone who feels even more dangerous, something creepy about them. Someone whose actions are not just self-centered or manipulative, but they're cold, they're calculated and cruel, almost like there's no humanity left inside of them. Let's talk about a word that's not in the DSM, but it is all over the internet, all over survivor forums, and all over the lips of people trying to make sense of deeply disturbing relationships. Narcopath. Is it real? Is it just a dramatic buzzword? Or is it a valid way to describe someone who's more than just narcissistic, someone who's manipulative, calculated, even dangerous? If you've ever come out of a relationship or are in one and you're thinking that's not just selfishness, that felt evil. You might have been in a relationship with a narcopath, and we say narcopath because sometimes narcissists don't cover it. The term narcopath is an informal, non-clinical term that combines narcissist and sociopath or psychopath. It's typically used to describe someone who displays a combination of traits from both narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder. Here's a breakdown of what narcopath usually implies. The narcissist traits, as most of you already know, are grandiosity, lack of empathy, constant need for admiration, manipulative behaviors, entitlement. The sociopathic antisocial traits are chronic lying, lack of remorse or guilt, exploitation of others for personal gain, impulsivity or aggression, willingness to break rules, laws, or norms without conscience. They'll often use narcopath when referring to individuals who seem more dangerous or destructive than the typical narcissist. And an example is a typical narcissist might lie to protect their image, but a narcopath, however, might spread a calculated rumor that someone sexually harassed them at work, not because it happened, but to destroy that person's credibility and remove them as competition. The key difference is that their lies aren't just self-serving, they're weaponized and they're with malicious intent. The second one is they are highly calculated, charming, and manipulative. And an example of that is they might love bomb someone with gifts, texts, and flattery, quickly move the relationship to exclusivity, and once they gain control, they begin isolating their partner from friends and family under the guise of we can't get enough of you, or just wanting more time together. Behind that charm is a slow, premeditated psychological takeover. And the key difference is, unlike the impulsive narcissists, narcopaths plan their manipulation like a chess game. The third one is they cause extreme emotional or psychological damage. A narcopath might deliberately create situations that trigger past trauma, such as threatening abandonment to someone with abandonment wounds. They'll go right into the wound. And then comforting them afterward, causing trauma bonding. And over time, the victim feels confused, dependent, anxious, and incapable of leaving, even when abused. But the key difference here is they use deep psychological warfare, not just vanity or entitlement. Number 4, some might cross into criminal or abusive behavior patterns with no regard to others' safety. They might force documents to ruin someone's credit. They might stalk an ex-partner using GPS, or secretly record private conversations to use in court, all while maintaining a charming, innocent public image. They do not feel guilt at all for harm done. In fact, they may feel justified or even satisfied. The key difference here is they know what they're doing is wrong, but they don't care, or they enjoy the power that it gives them. But I'm not sure if I mentioned it when I started, but it's important to note that it's not a clinical diagnosis. The DSM-5 does not recognize narcopath. It's more of a pop psychology or survivor-based term. It gained traction in support communities, particularly around people healing from abusive relationships where the perpetrator displayed a blend of narcissism and psychopathy. Narcissists and sociopaths are two personality types that are already hard enough to deal with on their own, but when they combine, what you get is something that is profoundly damaging. And I say this because I have been there. The narcopath often craves power and control like a narcissist, demands admiration and attention like a narcissist, but also lies with no remorse, exploits people intentionally, and crosses ethical lines without blinking, like a sociopath. This is the person who hurts you and enjoys it, not because they lost control, but because watching you unravel gives them a sense of superiority. This is the narcissist who plans your downfall here, not impulsively, but strategically. They wear a mask that looks incredibly polished. They can be charming, funny, charismatic. They can mirror you so well that you think that you've met your soulmate. But underneath all of that, there's no real bond. There's no capacity for love and no genuine remorse when they harm you. So let's take a moment to go over this again. We're going to break down the differences between a narcissist and a narcopath, because this distinction matters, especially for those trying to understand what they've survived. A narcissist is emotionally immature, lacks empathy, but may still be ruled by insecurity, often wants to be liked and admired, may feel shame or embarrassment if their image is threatened. They manipulate, yes, but sometimes more out of a need for control or approval. It's impulsive. They can be explosive or reactive, but there's still some emotional reactivity that feels somehow human. A narcopath has no remorse, no shame, and often no conscience. Doesn't just lie, they gaslight, they bait, and they destroy. Feels no guilt using your love against you. Doesn't just fear exposure, they preemptively destroy anyone who might expose them. A narcopath doesn't just want to win an argument. They want to watch you lose everything and then call it your fault. It's the difference between someone who's emotionally immature and someone who's emotionally void. So how do you know if the narcissist in your life is actually a narcopath? Let's look at some telling signs. They enjoy your suffering. They smile or remain eerily calm when you're crying, breaking down, or begging for answers. Your pain doesn't move them, it empowers them. Number 2, they plan their cruelty. Unlike the reactive narcissist who lashes out when triggered, a narcopath might stage scenarios, set traps, or quietly isolate you from everyone who cares about you, just to leave you more vulnerable when they strike. The third one is they can lie without flinching. They lie, it's effortless, even when it gains them nothing. They might lie just to see how long they can keep you confused, or how far that they can bend your reality before you break. The fourth one is they ruin reputations. Boy, they're good at that. If you leave them, expose them, or even just stop playing the game, they go after your job, your friendships, your children, your mental health. They want you discredited and defenseless. Number 5, they have no remorse, even after extreme harm. Emotional, financial, even physical. They feel no guilt whatsoever. They either blame you or act as if nothing happened. These people are dangerous, not just toxic. And I say that with full seriousness here. They operate with cold calculation, often targeting empaths, codependents, or vulnerable individuals because they know that they can extract maximum supply with minimum risk. Now, as I said earlier, narcopath isn't a clinical term. You won't find it in the DSM, but survivors started using it because it filled a gap that traditional diagnoses didn't. Sometimes when you're describing what you went through and you say he was a narcissist, people nod like they understand, but they don't. They think, okay, he's full of himself. But you know that it went so much deeper than that. You know what it's like to be targeted, not just manipulated, to be hunted, not just used. They're coming after you for a fight, for something they're upset about at work. To feel like you were in a psychological war zone and every weapon was emotional or spiritual. Narcopath gives language to that. It's not just someone with a big ego. It's someone with a hollow soul, someone who knows what they're doing and who keeps doing it. Not in bursts, not when they're overwhelmed, but calmly, repeatedly, deliberately. If you've dealt with someone like this, you probably felt crazy for a long time. You may still feel like you're recovering from something no one fully understands. Maybe you're still in a relationship. Narcopaths don't just hurt you, they steal your sense of self. They warp your reality so much that by the time you realize what's happening, you doubt every decision that you made. You question if you were the problem. You wonder how someone could be so cold and you didn't see it. You blame yourself for trusting them, for loving them. And the people around you, they often don't see it either. Narcopaths are chameleons. They show one face to the world and another to you. They might volunteer at charity events and then come home and emotional dismantle you piece by piece. They may charm your friends while ghosting you during a health crisis. It causes deep trauma, the kind that doesn't heal with just time. It needs truth, it needs validation, it needs a safe space where someone finally says you weren't crazy, you were dealing with something profoundly cruel and you survived it. Or you will survive it. You're not alone. So if the term narcopath resonates with you, I want you to know this. You are not exaggerating. You are not being dramatic. You're trying to name something that very few people are brave enough to confront, let alone survive, which makes you a really strong person. And this isn't about labels for the sake of labeling. This is about helping survivors understand what happened so that they can begin to trust themselves again. You don't have to explain or defend the pain that you went through. You don't have to minimize just because someone else doesn't believe it. What you lived through or what you're living through is real. The manipulation, the cruelty, the confusion, the numbness, the fear. And there are others, including me, who understand. I keep saying it, you're not alone on this path. There's a growing community of people waking up from the fog of narcissistic and sociopathic abuse, learning to trust themselves again and finding their way back to peace. It's through healing that we're going to get back at these people. If you have your own story of dealing with someone who fits the narcopath profile, please feel free to share the comments down below if you feel safe, of course, to do so. Or just let me know that this resonated. Even a simple yes, this can speak volumes. So comment below, yes, this. And if you're still healing, take your time. The damage that they cause runs deep, but so does your strength. If you've survived a narcissist, you're already strong. So that is all for today, and we shall see you in the next video. Bye for now.